This is Movie Corp. Every nightmare explained.
The quiet of Baramulla is shattered when a young boy named Shoaib Ansari vanishes into thin air during a magician's grand finale, leaving behind nothing but a stunned audience and a desperate search. As posters of the missing boy flood the streets, the pressure mounts to find answers in a case that feels more like a nightmare than a simple kidnapping. To crack the case, the authorities bring in the controversial DSP Ridwan Said, who arrives in town with his wife Gulnar and their children, Ayan and Nori. They move into a sprawling, ancient villa maintained by a mute caretaker named Iqbal. But the transition is far from smooth as Ridwan struggles with a mysterious tremor in his hand and the weight of a past that clearly hasn't let him go. Ridwan wastes no time heading to the station to confront the prime suspect, a local magician named Zafar Mansour, who has been performing illegally. While Inspector Shaukat Ali insists the forensic evidence makes this an open and shut case, Ridwan remains skeptical, sensing that there is something much darker beneath the surface of this disappearance than a simple stage trick gone wrong. Ridwan enters the station's dungeon to interrogate the magician, Zafar Mansour, who is busy applying kohl to his eyes as if preparing for a grand performance. While Inspector Shaukat Ali is convinced the magician is a kidnapper who used his illegal shows as a cover, Zafar remains eerily calm, insisting his magical box is actually a door to the heavens, and that the townspeople of Baramulla are the ones truly full of lies and conspiracies. Ridwan is clearly unconvinced by the magician's guilt and removes Zafar's photo from the suspect board, noting how cleanly the hair was cut and suspecting that the former MLA, Shoaib's father, may have enemies with much darker motives. But while Ridwan looks for logical answers, a shadow looms over the investigation as a militant commander named Junid meets with his associates at a local barbershop. They've been tracking Ridwan's every move, revealing that their unseen leader, Baijan, is the one choosing which crops to harvest, a chilling reference to the children they are targeting for radicalization and training. Back at the villa, the supernatural begins to bleed into the family's reality when young Ayan discovers a hidden compartment beneath the floorboards containing a box of old seashells. As he plays with them, he encounters a childlike apparition that defies gravity, catching a shell in midair, leading him toward a closed room just before his mother calls him away for a tense family dinner, where the children struggle to adjust to their isolated new home. The family's first dinner in the villa is thick with resentment as Nori lashes out at her father, complaining about the lack of hot water and a strange smell of a dog in her room that no one else can detect. When Ridwan tries to bridge the gap, the conversation turns to the trauma she suffered in Riazi, where she witnessed her father accidentally kill her classmate during a hostage rescue, a memory that continues to poison their relationship and leaves Nori fleeing the table in tears. The next morning, the villa's secrets begin to surface when Nori spots the mute attendant, Iqbal, surreptitiously carrying a plate of food to a locked room in the attic, while Gulnar discovers unexplained disturbances in the house, like a bottle of oil spilled inside a closed cupboard. The tension boils over when the children discover the word kafir, meaning infidel, scrawled in red across their front wall, a direct threat from the locals that leaves Nori devastated and Gulnar realizing that their safety is an illusion. Meanwhile, Ridwan attempts to follow the investigation to Shoaib's father, Ansari, but he's met with cold hostility and a crowd of locals who view the police as the enemy. Ansari openly mocks Ridwan's past failures, suggesting that if he relies on the police, his son will end up dead just like the children in the Riasi school shooting, making it clear that the town has no intention of helping a man they've already branded an outsider. As Ridwan leaves the hostile encounter with Shoaib's father, he notices a woman watching them from behind a curtain, but his focus is pulled to a suspicious photo on his phone of the missing boy that he needs his team to investigate immediately. Meanwhile, a much darker threat is brewing in the shadows as a man named Junid meets with a contact to discuss their next cultivation, chillingly declaring that they have already chosen the next crop to reap for their cause of freedom. During the chaotic chase through the snow, Faisal is momentarily transfixed by a mysterious white bud, the same strange flower seen before his brother pulls him away to safety. The next morning, Ridwan takes the investigation to Shoaib's school, where he meets the principal, Zainab, and learns that the missing boy had recently undergone a disturbing personality shift. Shoaib's former friends reveal he had started using religious slurs against them, specifically targeting the son of a surrendered militant. after befriending a mysterious new person no one has ever seen. Zainab admits the town's deep-seated hatred for the police makes her job difficult. But while she offers her help, Nori is already being ostracized by her peers, flatly denying that the man investigating her classmates is even her father. Back at the villa, Nori is feeling more isolated than ever as her friend requests are being systematically declined by her peers. But her mood shifts when a boy named Khalid finally reaches out to her online. While she begins to bond with this new digital friend, she remains deeply suspicious of the villa's mute attendant, Iqbal, whom she catches secretly delivering plates of food to the attic despite her mother's insistence that it's just a personal ritual. Meanwhile, young Ayan discovers a hidden box of seashells beneath his floorboards and follows a mysterious shadow into the storeroom, where he encounters a spectral boy, seeking a connection in this strange new home. Ayan offers to share his seashells and asks the apparition to be his friend, only for the encounter to end abruptly when a token turns into black smoke and the door slams shut, leaving the boy to play with his new friend in the shadows the following morning. The mystery deepens when Faisal, the boy Ridwan saw during the stone pelting, vanishes into the fog while out on a boat with his family, leaving behind only a pile of cut hair. Ridwan's investigation quickly links the two missing boys to the same school, Blooming Petals, and uncovers a connection to a local stone pelting organizer named Afzal, who is secretly delivering rewards and messages from the elusive Baijan to a militant commander named Junid. The investigation takes a violent turn when Ridwan's team tracks Afzal to a hideout, where they witness him meeting with the militant commander Junid. A chaotic shootout erupts, leaving Afzal dead and allowing the police to recover a hidden pen drive containing a cryptic file labeled Baijan, a discovery that forces Junid to consult with his unseen leader, who orders him to keep a close watch on the DSP and exploit his family's vulnerabilities. While Ridwan remains skeptical of the supernatural, he can't ignore the physical evidence of the dog's presence that the family continues to encounter after Nori suffers a life-threatening reaction. The mystery finally begins to crack when Ridwan decodes the strings of numbers found on the pen drive, realizing they aren't just random characters, they are the school IDs, grades, and roll numbers for Shoaib and Faisal. This chilling revelation confirms that the disappearances are being systematically targeted from within the Blooming Petals public school, though the reason for the kidnappings and the ritualistic cutting of the children's hair remains a dark, unanswered question. Nori's growing curiosity leads her into the dark, forgotten corners of the villa where she records her exploration on her phone, eventually discovering a hidden room filled with old relics like a broken sewing machine and a child's tricycle. Near a window, she finds a single, beautiful white bud, but the moment of wonder turns into a nightmare when she is suddenly trapped inside as the door slams shut and a terrifying black smoke begins to rise toward her. The situation turns critical when Gulnar finds Nori missing and discovers a hair clip with cut hair on the floor, a chilling signature of the abductor. Ridwan, now desperate, tries to keep the disappearance quiet while ordering a 24/7 police presence at the school, promising a devastated Gulnar that he will bring their daughter back, even though Nori's name was never on the original list of targets. A major break in the case arrives when the mute attendant, Iqbal, reveals he saw Nori with an older boy who doesn't attend her school, leading the police to create a sketch of the suspect. While Ridwan coordinates the manhunt, the school principal Zainab arrives with attendance records, warning him that fear is paralyzing the community as more children stop showing up to class, unaware that the boy in the sketch is Khalid, the one who lured Nori away. After Zainab provides the school records, Ridwan studies the sketch of the suspect and realizes he's seen the boy before. It's Khalid, the same youth who collided with him near the Ansari residence. He tracks down Shoaib's mother, who reveals that Khalid had been secretly radicalizing the local children under the guise of religious education, even teaching her son to reject his own future in favor of becoming a militant. The investigation leads Ridwan to a suspected militant hideout, but the house is empty. On a discarded mobile phone, he finds a devastating video of his own daughter, Nori, wearing a hijab and reciting extremist propaganda. His heart shatters as he watches her denounce him as a traitor and a slave to India, declaring her hatred for him and her readiness to join the fight for freedom. Back at the villa, Gulnar is drawn by a spectral shadow into a hidden room concealed behind a closet and layers of wallpaper. Inside, she discovers a secret sanctuary filled with Shaivite symbols and Hindu deities, confirming the home once belonged to a Kashmiri Pandit family. When she tries to tell Ridwan that Nouri's disappearance is linked to these supernatural forces, he dismisses her claims as exhaustion, remaining focused solely on the militant threat. Ridwan's skepticism turns into a heated confrontation with Gulnar as he refuses to believe her supernatural theories, insisting that he will find Nouri through his investigation alone. He snaps at her, demanding to know if she wants him to chase ghosts instead of militants, but Gulnar fires back with a devastating truth. She blames his emotional distance and the trauma he caused in Riasai for driving their daughter toward radicalization in the first place. A painful memory from a year ago in Riasai reveals the source of this fracture, showing Ridwan leading a desperate hostage rescue at Nouri's school. In the chaotic crossfire with masked terrorists, Ridwan accidentally shot one of Nouri's classmates right before her eyes, a moment of horror that permanently scarred his daughter and shattered her trust in him forever. While Ridwan dwells on the past, the militant commander Junid receives orders from his unseen leader, Baijan, to prepare a new crop of children for transport to Pakistan using ISI funding. Junid targets his own nephew, Yasir, for the mission, giving the boy a tiffin box containing a mobile phone and extremist propaganda, while Zainab watches the exchange from a school window. Back at the villa, Gulnar discovers Ayan's sketchbook filled with drawings of a boy in a black hat, a woman, and a dog, entities that shouldn't be there. She confronts Iqbal in the attic as he performs his ritual of offering food, but when the lights flicker and the plate is instantly emptied by an unseen force, the reality of the supernatural presence in the house becomes impossible to ignore. In the attic, Iqbal's ritual takes a terrifying turn as he becomes possessed, his voice shifting to a spectral tone. He reveals that the spirits are not harming the children, but are keeping them in a spectral dimension to protect them from the radicalization and poison being filled in their minds by the militants. A dark smoke erupts from his body and transforms into a female apparition that merges with Gulnar, pulling her into this dimension where she finally finds Shoaib, Faisal, and Nouri, all sitting in a trance-like state, bathed in an otherworldly light. While Gulnar learns in the spectral dimension that Yasser will be the next child taken for protection, Ridwan is at the police station aggressively interrogating Khalid to find his daughter. Gulnar rushes to the station to tell Ridwan that Nouri is stuck in another dimension and that the house's history is the key. But Ridwan remains stubbornly skeptical, dismissing her claims as the chaos of Kashmir. Meanwhile, Khalid drops a bombshell on his interrogators. The militants actually suspected the police of taking the kids because Shoaib and Faisal were snatched by unknown forces before the militants could even start their first harvest. He watches as Junid hands his nephew, Yasir, over to a trafficker, but the situation takes a supernatural turn when the man is suddenly shot. Ridwan tries to secure the terrified boy, promising he won't go to jail and can return to his mother, but as Yasir lowers his weapon, a supernatural black smoke erupts from the trees and drags the child into the trunk of a massive tree, leaving behind only a lock of hair and a stunned Ridwan. The abduction backfires on the militants as Junid, convinced the police have snatched the boy right from under his nose, calls his unseen leader Baijan to demand action. While the leader advises Junid to go underground and promises to handle the rest, Ridwan returns to the villa to finally confront the supernatural reality head-on. In the attic, he joins Gulnar and Iqbal for a ritual offering, only to witness the lights flicker out and the food vanish instantly, signaling that the entities protecting the children are ready to speak. The atmosphere turns terrifying as Ayan enters the room in a trance, possessed by the spirit of a girl named Ila Sapru. Through the boy's voice, the family learns the tragic history of the villa's former occupants, the Sapras, who lived there with their dog, Sheru, until they were destroyed by a devastating betrayal. As Ayan physically struggles with the spirit's presence, the session is interrupted by the arrival of the school principal, Zainab, who seeks Ridwan's protection after receiving a gruesome death threat at her home, claiming she is being targeted for spying for India. The situation at the villa turns dire as the network and landlines are cut. And just as Ridwan tries to investigate the flickering streetlights, a sudden hail of gunfire erupts from the darkness. His officer Jamal is killed instantly, and Ridwan is grazed in the neck as he shouts for everyone to get down. Outside, Junid and nearly a dozen militants have surrounded the house, opening fire indiscriminately and shattering the windows as the family and Zainab scramble for cover. As the militants storm the villa, the house becomes a chaotic battlefield. Gulnar is shot in the leg while trying to flee upstairs with Ayan, and Ridwan is forced to shoot out the electric board to plunge the house into darkness and halt the onslaught. While Iqbal hides a terrified Ayan under a bed, Ridwan engages in a brutal close-quarters struggle with the invaders, surviving a fall from the upper floor and a bomb blast that leaves him reeling but still fighting to protect his family. They witness the Sapru family decades earlier, Dr. Kamlanand, his wife Mansi, and daughter Ela, frantically preparing to flee the valley as threats against Kashmiri Pandits echo through the streets. While their caretaker urges them to hurry, the family hesitates, refusing to leave without their son Sharad, unaware that the betrayal that will lead to their massacre is already unfolding. Despite the caretaker's attempts to shield the doctor by claiming he is alone, the terrorists show no mercy. The visions reveal that during the massacre, Iqbal tried to protect the Sapras, but the militants cut off his tongue as punishment for helping those they deemed Kafirs before turning their sights on the rest of the family. In the past, Mansi Sapru desperately tries to hide her daughter Ela, but they are betrayed by a local girl who reveals their location to the militants. Mansi manages to lock Ela inside the family temple for safety, giving her a garland and promising she will live, but the sanctuary is breached. Gulnar watches in horror as the vision reveals the tragic truth. The militants found Ela in her hiding spot and murdered both mother and daughter where they stood. Back in the present, the chaos of the vision bleeds into a brutal reality as Junaid himself confronts Ridwan, demanding to know the location of his nephew, Yasir. Upstairs, the militants discover Ayan and Iqbal's hiding spot, dragging the boy out from under the bed. In a final act of devotion to the family he has served for decades, Iqbal throws himself at the attacker to hold him back, desperately signaling for Ayan to run as the villa descends into a final, violent struggle. Junaid tries to make a desperate escape by taking Zainab hostage. But the spirits of the Sapru family aren't finished yet. Gulnar, still possessed by the vengeful spirit of Mansi Sapru, takes aim and shoots Zainab, while Ridwan finally ends the threat by killing Junaid. With the militants defeated, Ridwan searches Junaid's body and discovers a phone filled with calls to the mysterious leader, Baijan. But when he dials the number, the truth is finally revealed as Zainab's phone begins to ring. It turns out the school principal was the traitor all along, the same girl who betrayed the Sapru family decades ago. But with her death, the supernatural hold over the villa breaks, and the missing children, including Nori, are finally returned to the physical world. The nightmare is finally over as Nori smiles and reaches out to her father, their bond finally mended after a year of silence and pain. As the Syed family prepares to leave Baramulla for good, they share a final look at the villa, now at peace, before the story jumps forward 6 months to Mumbai, where they visit Dr. Sharad Sapru, the family's sole survivor, to return Ela's cherished seashell box and offer him the closure he's waited a lifetime to find.